Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing another book versus movie review, which I rarely do. Yes, finally I'm going to be talking about Bird Box. I've talked about it in passing a couple of times, either being the book or the movie. I read the book in January, which, you know, I wanted to read it before I finally saw it. So I finally saw the movie at the end of January, and now we're at the end of February, and just, you know, let's get into this. This is going to be a long one. Get a snack, get comfy. Both the book and movie follow Mallory, who finds herself pregnant when an unseen force drives most of society to suicide. 5 years later, Mallory and her children make a dangerous journey to reach a safe compound. So, about the book. I loved the book. Just to give you guys some context here. I thought it was terrifying, and the whole not being able to see theme of it works really well with a book where you're relying on your imagination. Because just like Mallory, who is the protagonist and whose point of view we're reading from, obviously she makes it to the end, so she never sees what it is, so we never see what it is. To me, that's terrifying. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I think it's scary, and it lends itself really well to writing where you're not being shown images, you know? So you get like all these cool descriptions of sound and the sensations that they're feeling whenever she is outside and she's blindfolded. It just brings me back to like things I totally find scary. Like I've talked about this a lot with the Blair Witch Project and with Paranormal Activity, where you don't ever see it. And to me, that's terrifying, because to be able to see whatever it is means I can react to it and possibly defend myself or run away or whatever. But if you can't see it and you don't know what it is, it makes it that much scarier, because you don't know how to react. You don't know if the best thing to do is to stay hidden and silent. You don't know if the best thing to do is to run or to fight or what, and it's scary. And I think the book lends itself to that a lot, and it works really well. I also thought the book was set up smartly, so the chapters alternate between what is a flashback for Mallory and what is the present. So the present in the book is Mallory and boy and girl traveling on the river to the safe compound. That is the present, and then it bounces back to her flashbacks of how this all started, like her perception of how everything started, how she got to the house, how she met these people, and how she gets to this point where she is alone with these kids and she has to get them to safety. I feel like it slowly leads up to that, like, so as you're progressing in the present, which not a lot is happening, she's just going down the river, and of course they run into a few bumps in the road, so to speak. Most of the action is in her flashback, so you get to see what got her to that point, which is really interesting, and I think it was set up really well. I was also able to relate a lot to Mallory, because in the book she's more my age, like mid-20s, early 20s sort of thing, and she has to deal with this unplanned pregnancy right before all of this goes down. Like, so when the book opens, you know, she finds out that she's pregnant, again, unplanned, and at that time there's a few incidents and then they slowly start to escalate, but like she's pregnant at this point, like, you know, and then shit goes down and there's nothing she can do about it. So she has to deal with being pregnant on top of the apocalypse, essentially. And then when we get to the point where she actually has her child, and so she's raising boy and girl, and in the book she's all by herself from the point that she gives birth. She is by herself. It is not like the movie at all. When she has her kids, it's not like the movie at all. So she's completely alone, and I feel like it aided much more in her character. Like, she had a much more meaningful character development because she's younger in the book and she has to deal with, you know, the unplanned pregnancy, which is already like something that will definitely mature you, I feel like. And then on top of that, like having to raise these kids by herself in this post-apocalyptic world where her children can't go outside, and she has to teach them differently, you know, like she has to do everything differently, and she doesn't know what she's doing because nobody knows what they're doing in this, because nobody knows what's going on, because you can't know, because if you know, it means you've seen it, and if you've seen it, you're gonna kill yourself, which is kind of like the rule of this world. She's still kind of immature in that sense, like she doesn't really know what she's doing, and she calls the kids boy and girl, like that's what she refers to them as. And I feel like it's never really expressly said, but I feel like in a way it's a way for her, it's like wishful thinking for her to like distance herself from the kids, like, because since she's by herself, she isn't sure that they're even gonna make it. So I feel like for her, it's a way to distance herself. Like, if they end up dying, either from the monsters or from whatever, she's not gonna feel as much because she didn't name them or something, you know? And so it all builds to the very end. She introduces her kids to the people at the compound when they reach it. She gives them actual names. And I feel like that's her way of acknowledging like they're somewhere safe and she feels like they can thrive here now. And so I feel like that character development was so much more meaningful in the book. So that leads me into my comparison of the movie to the book. Obviously they changed things. I didn't like those changes. I didn't like most of them. Like I said, I feel like the movie took away a lot of the growth that Mallory gets in the book, and a lot of the challenges she has to face. I feel like they take a lot of that away. So for one, in the book, they're not in this fancy ass mansion with like security cameras and shit. Like, I feel like part of what they took away, just like, even just as a movie, just defies logic. Like, and they just happen to make it to a grocery store and they have enough food for at least 5 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just didn't make any sense. Like, eventually that food's gonna run out. And in the book, like, that's part of what drives her to try and make a run for this safe compound, even though it's super dangerous. Because it's just, I don't know, like I feel like it's not realistic for people to make regular supply runs to the grocery store because you can't look. And it's like, for all you know, the next time you make it to that grocery store, months later or years later, maybe other people have raided it. Maybe you're inside and you think you're safe and you take off your blindfold and it turns out all the windows have been smashed and you don't know. And you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's not realistic for that. And the movie just makes it seem way more easier to survive in this world than the book does. I feel like Mallory was basically living in luxury in this movie, essentially, compared to the book. The book is a lot more, I feel like one of the themes is like there's a lot more to fear than what's going on outside. There's other people, and there's the fear of, you know, starvation and stuff. And there's a lot of bad consequences to never going outside or to not going outside a lot, which they do go outside to get water and stuff from the well, but it's not like they're hanging out outside all the time. So a lot of them are suffering from malnourishment, from not getting enough sun, and there's a whole lot of other things that the movie just kind of like pretends like isn't an issue, you know? It was like a 2-hour movie. I'm sorry, it was a 2-hour movie. They could have fit some of that shit in. And I feel like that was like, it just was made even more unrealistic when we get to like the 5 years later part, where the only difference with Mallory is that her hair is longer. She looks great. She doesn't look malnourished or anything. And again, it just like, it took away a lot of like the harrowing experience that Mallory experiences. So like at the very end of the book, when she makes it to the compound, there's an instance where Mallory catches her reflection. She sees that, you know, she is suffering very badly from malnourishment. She's too pale, and because of her malnourishment, like, you know, her face has changed. She's like missing patches of hair and things like that. She doesn't look pretty. And Sandra Bullock is gorgeous, and she still looks gorgeous throughout this movie. And I don't understand what it is with filmmakers and not wanting females to be ugly. Like, it's Sandra Bullock. She's never really gonna be ugly, but she doesn't look like, by the end of that movie, she doesn't look like she's been through anything, really. Do you know what I mean? It's okay to make a female character ugly. She's malnourished and she hasn't been outside a lot. She's not gonna look great. I also feel like they eliminated a lot of her character development by making Mallory older. You know, like, so Sandra Bullock's Mallory is older. She has a lot more sense. She's had a lot more experience in life because of her backstory, which we never really get in the book. She knows how to handle a gun, and she knows how to kind of like be a leader already, which is part of the arc in the book. Like, Mallory goes from not being able to speak up to being able to lead the house, help make decisions and come up with ideas. And I feel like it's much more meaningful, at least for me, that she learns this throughout the book. Whereas in this one, she already knows all this stuff. And the only thing she really has to deal with is being pregnant. And that's it. It just made it a little less meaningful, I guess, because Mallory goes through a whole lot more, and I feel like she grows so much more as a person because of that. But that's totally a personal thing, you know, because I was able to relate more to the book Mallory than the movie Mallory. Whereas somebody who is older probably can relate more to movie Mallory than book Mallory. I don't know. The biggest problem I had though, which I was anticipating, I knew it was going to be an issue, was the fact that as a viewer of a movie, we can see outside. And the book obviously we don't get any of that because it's completely from Mallory's point of view. So we never get to see outside after crap goes down. So we never know what's going on outside. The book never establishes what's going on outside. The movie kind of makes that decision for you. I won't explain what they show. They do show something. They kind of make a decision for you, and I did not. I feel like they made a decision without really making a decision. If you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm getting at. I don't want to spoil too much, so I will leave it at that. But they do kind of make a decision, and there's just something way less scary about having just, you know, having this third person point of view where we see Sandra Bullock running around in the woods with a blindfold, but, you know, we're not really experiencing the same sensations we are. And occasionally they'll show like a POV shot from inside the blindfold or whatever, but I don't know. It just wasn't the same, and I knew they weren't going to never show the outside. Like, I knew that wasn't gonna happen. That would just be too experimental of a film, you know, to basically turn off all the lights whenever somebody goes outside. It definitely changed the story for me a lot, being able to see outside, you know. I'll go ahead and wrap it up because this video is probably long enough, but I think it goes without saying that I liked the book way more than the movie. Way more. Like, I thought it was a pretty awful adaptation. Like, as a movie, I guess it's like okay, but as an adaptation, I feel like it was awful. I feel like this was a book that, you know, not every, like, as much as, you know, I walk around touting that there are so many horror books that would make great adaptations, this is not one that would be one of them. Like, if I made a video about horror books that I want to see made into movies, Bird Box would not be on that list. Like, I feel like it does not work well as a movie. You lose a lot, and I would highly, highly recommend reading the book because it is so much better. So as a book, I give it 5 out of 5. The movie, I give it 2 out of 5. For the movie, on IMDb it has a 6.7 out of 10. On Rotten Tomatoes, a 62% critic score and a 60% audience score. And on Letterboxd, it has a 3.1 out of 5. The book on Goodreads has a 4.03 out of 5, Amazon 4.4 out of 5, and BarnesandNoble.com also a 4.4 out of 5. So if you've either seen the movie or read the book, you know, or both, let me know in the comments section down below what you thought about them. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here and become a Creepy Peep today. You can ring that notification bell down there to be notified every time I post a video, even though it never works. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye. This video is brought to you by all of these awesome Patreon supporters who are listed here on the screen. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you want to find out the perks to being a Creepy Patron Peep, you can follow that link that's in the description box. And if you want to check out more videos, you can click the video that's on the screen right now.